Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy 420, where today is opening day in Major League Baseball, and we're all really excited. I had to tear myself away from the TV and watching games to make this video, so I will get back to it afterwards, and I can't wait to watch this day and partake in it as you are. So this video, we're going to be continuing with our 2019 Fantasy Baseball This or That series. And that's where we discuss two players playing the same position, being picked in about the same round of Fantasy Baseball 2019 season-long drafts. People are still going to be drafting through the week and beyond, but at least for this week, I think it's possible to highlight these names, hopefully sway a few opinions, and get a few of these late draft-winning players. These guys have a lot of value and upside, and these guys are people you can add to your team who can hopefully win you your league. So without further ado, our two names that we're going to be discussing today are two outfielders, and they're being picked in about the 8th round. And those outfielders being Michael Conforto, who is being picked at about the 84th pick overall in fantasypros.com aggregate rankings, and that's where they take Yahoo, ESPN, all the other sites, bundle them all together so you get an aggregate base ranking of where they're being picked. And he's going up against AJ Pollock, who's being picked 3 picks later at about the 87th pick overall. So without further ado, we'll go over some evidence that will help us make our decision. The first of which being their career up to this point, and more importantly, maybe their 2018 recap. So we'll start with Michael Conforto, very young player, age 26 going into this year. He's had 4 years as a New York Met, an extremely abbreviated rookie season, followed by an abysmal 2016. And then he had his talent, realized that the Mets saw and bought into him, with an all-star game in 2017, really good year. The Mets had really high expectations for him going into 2018, but honestly, not only did he underwhelm, you can argue that he regressed to a certain point. In 2018, he played 153 games, so that led to 78 runs, with his expected 162 game season total, if he were to start every single game, being 83 runs. So saw a little bit of a possible step back in that area. He had 28 home runs compared to what we would expect to be 29 home runs, but he only had one more than that great 2017 All-Star game year with around 40 more games. So I would say obviously a little bit of a regression in that category. Only had 82 RBIs compared to what they would expect to be an 83 RBI year, and only had 3 stolen bases to what we would expect a 3 stolen base season. Not really a speedy threat on the base paths, but you would see that regression as being a little bit more standoutish, because those numbers should have leapt up in 2018. You should have seen those well surpass those expected totals, because that abysmal 2016 and that abbreviated rookie year should have brought those numbers down, but he went even worse than that. So the Mets were thinking they were going to get a franchise player, and he just really underwhelmed, and especially for fantasy players. A lot of players bought into him really early last year on a lot of drafts, and he burned a lot of them. So the Mets still believe they have a talented franchise hitter, and that's really important going forward, but you might not be there. He might not see that. The MLB is very precarious when it comes to certain situations and people panning out, so it is up in the air with him. AJ Pollock, on the other hand, is a vet. He's going to his age 31 year. He had 7 years as an Arizona Diamondback. He started his year as a fast leadoff hitter on the base paths. Very dangerous. 2 seasons, though, he had over 137 games, including a very dominant 2015 in which he had an all-star game appearance, 20 home runs, 39 stolen bases, and averaged 315. So crazy numbers, a league winner from that year, especially compared to where he was drafted. Sort of had a massive breakout 2015. But other than that, he's had a pretty hard time staying healthy. He's had 2 seasons other than those with around 110 games, and he's had 3 years with less than 100. So a little bit of a rough time staying healthy, but when he has, he's been productive. That being said, his 2018 season, he played 113 games, a little bit of an injury-riddled year, so scored only 61 runs, expected around 93. 21 home runs, though, jumped up from a 19 expected, 65 RBIs from a 67 expected. So we see a little uptick in home runs and a little uptick in RBIs. Only 13 stolen bases to a 26 stolen base average. Was he dealing with injury? Is he becoming more of a power hitter with older age and losing that speed a little bit? 257 average to an expected 281. A pretty massive drop off in that category, so that would lead you to expect that. Like a little bit of uncertainty with his career going forward. Are we seeing a power transition as he goes into age? Is he still going to give you that speed to really give you that crucial stolen base category? We don't know. This is going to be a crucial year for both of these guys. And with that being said, we'll go on to what each team has done in the offseason and player, as I think those are important in both of these players' cases. Michael Conforto, the Mets got a lot of help next to him in the lineup. They were a pretty anemic offense last year, and they were a mediocre team led by a pretty dominant to good starting pitching, so just pretty bad offense in general. They got a new GM. He made a trade for Robinson Cano, signed Wilson Ramos via free agency, beefed up that bullpen, and now the Mets with some new moves, that new GM, they have higher expectations and hope that that great staff and better lineup and bullpen make them contenders in that division. I believe they will be, and I believe that will transition to more stats and a better season for Conforto as a result. That being said, A.J. Pollock also had a very positive offseason. He signed a 5-year, $60 million deal, got paid from the Dodgers, so he's obviously very happy. Also, the Dodgers lineup being worlds ahead of where he would be in Arizona also makes you very happy from a fantasy standpoint. I know I've been down on the Dodgers, but that being said, I still expect that lineup to be very, very good going into this year, and they will be contending for that division, I believe, with the Rockies. So that upgrade is undeniable, but we don't really know if he's going to be hitting leadoff. That's crucial for his value. I think with all those players they had that could be bringing him in, he'll be a little more average and stolen base minded. He's been playing there this spring, so maybe we can project him there. But it's also possible that he hits lower, and if he does hit lower, I think that would hurt his fantasy value, as he would be hitting, in my opinion, obviously at least 6 or lower behind Muncy, Turner, maybe even a couple more players. I do think they're going to need him. They gave him a big contract, and that's going to result in him playing as long as he can stay healthy. But the role on that team is going to be up in the air, maybe dependent on how he's playing in general. But that gives me a little pause as well. So I think we have enough to make a verdict on which player I'm going to buy into. And for me, this is a pretty easy Michael Conforto pick. The team, I believe, still sees him as a young franchise hitter. I think he's going to hit third or fourth in that lineup all year as long as he's staying healthy and doesn't rock bottom out his production. And I believe in him as a talent, and I think he will take a step forward, hopefully this year. The added talent, added expectations. I like his value and his power production in the 8th round. I might even be reaching for him a little bit in the 7th round just to make sure I get him. That's just how much I like him this year. On the other hand, I don't really hate Pollock. I think he's a decent pick in the 8th round, especially if he hits that leadoff and gets those stolen bases and average numbers up. That being said, There is a lot more question marks that I have with him. His health issues from previous seasons. He's hitting his 31 year. Like I said, is he hitting leadoff? Is he going to be hitting lower than fifth? Has he changed from a average and stolen base guy to a power guy? We just don't know, and those could easily change, in my opinion, his production and what would sway the numbers from him as why you would pick him over Conforto. You'd want that average and those stolen bases up where Conforto isn't going to be giving that to you. And hopefully he'll providing around a 20 home runs, so not much less than Conforto. But if you're going a power off with Conforto, then you're definitely picking Conforto no matter what. So those things all being taken into consideration, I think Michael Conforto is a pretty easy pick here. I'm very happy that you all listened to my video, took time out of your opening day. It's a pleasure talking to you as always. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I'll leave you some links to my previous videos that I've made. Hopefully we all can draft some winning baseball teams and have a great season going forward. I will see you all with another video tomorrow, and I hope you all take it easy as always and have a blessed day. Peace.